I did ask you guys what video should I make next, and one of the suggestions was how the Straw Hats will deal with two Yonkos. This is a topic that I thought a lot recently. It is very interesting. It could make or break the story. The value of the title of Pirate King depends on the Yonkos. If they are handled as a joke, then the title of Pirate King means nothing. You are as good as your rivals. If an adult professional sports team did defeat teams of children and they became champions, would anyone consider that as an achievement? I don't think so. So, how will the Straw Hats and the Alliance defeat not one, but two Yonkos? Since Oda thought it would be a good idea to bring Big Mom and her crew in Wano as well. I have a theory of how things will play out, but I really hope that this theory will not come true, because it would be so lame. To answer the question of how the Straw Hats and the Alliance will defeat two Yonkos, well, they will not. I don't think anything will change when it comes to the main story. Kaido and Big Mom will still be Yonkos, and the one arc will be just like the Whole Cake Island arc, a filler arc. I know that Oda has said that the Wano arc will not just be like Marineford arc, but a lot better. But the reality is that the Wano arc is just like the Whole Cake Island arc, but just worse. I never thought that I would say that the Whole Cake Island arc is better than any other arc. But at least the Whole Cake Island arc had some purpose, like save Sanji. Then it became save the Windsmokes, and then the Windsmokes are saving the Straw Hats. So at least it had the basic of a story, and had somewhat of continuity. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same about the Wano arc. This arc is all over the place. One of the many things that are so stupid is what Oda is doing with the characters. He introduces a character. This is his name, this is his story, this is his power. All of that sounds great. This character seems awesome. And what does this character do? Nothing. But here's another character. This is his name, this is his story, this is his power. And again, all of that sounds great. So what's the role of this character? How is it going to affect the story? Oh, forget that character. Here's another character. This is his name, this is his story, this is his power. And this goes on and on. Does Oda think that just having characters is what makes a story great? If the characters are not used, or they don't have a role, or they don't impact the story, then what's the point of them? Why come up with them in the first place? But we are not going to find answers from the writer's perspective, because that has nothing to do with writing. This is a technique that is usually used in movies by companies that want to generate generic content and not tell legit stories. What they do is that they try to overwhelm the audience. They throw so many things at once so that the audience will not be able to focus and understand what is going on, other than superficially. And this works so well with the casuals. But for those that like to rewatch or reread, then they start to notice that nothing really is happening. Everything is just generic chaos. This reminds me of the last Star Wars movie. They did this to an extreme level. Some people were saying that it seems like they did put 3 movies into one, and none of them was making any sense. Some were saying that it seems more like a video game than a story, when you have to do certain things to go to the next level, but none of those things matter, they are just there to be obstacles and nothing more, which is the opposite of storytelling. But that's fine since it is a game, but it is not fine to do that in a story. One thing that you notice about people's reactions to that movie is that a lot of things that happen, but no one is talking about a certain scene, or a certain character, or storyline. That's because it is just smoke and mirrors. How can they think a story is bad if they are confused? It pains me to say this, but Oda is doing the same thing, which is quite shocking, because there is no reason to do that, other than this is easy. We are more than 70 chapters in. Does anything stand out in this arc? Has anything been accomplished, story-wise or from the writer's perspective? Is there a reason for these 70 chapters? The Wano War was established since the Punk Hazard arc, so there is no need for setup or anything like that. Since chapter 1, the ball should have started rolling. Anything new that needs to be added to the story could be done while telling the story, just like every writer does it, and not stop the story and accomplish nothing. Here's the thing. I know that just like me, others are expecting great things to happen at least in the final phase of this arc. And I hope it does happen. But based on everything that I'm seeing from Oda, that is not going to happen. The final phase of the Wano arc will be the same as the Whole Cake Island arc. If you were happy with that, then you will be happy with how Wano arc will end. Everyone who knows the story and its potential to be great and the importance of the Yonkos to the story does expect great things. But I think Oda has misled the audience what this arc is about, and people will be disappointed in the end. This arc is not about Luffy and his journey to becoming Pirate King. It is not about the Yonkos. It's about the government of Wano changing. Big Mom and her crew will leave since they have no connection to Wano to begin with, and Kaido and his crew will go to another island and make a new base. Here's how I think they will be made to leave Wano. The moment I saw that the Kinemon is using his ability to dress the Alliance in the same clothes as the Beast Pirates, I thought Oda will use this to confuse the forces of Kaido, Big Mom and Orochi. When the Alliance will attack the Big Mom Pirates, they would think that they have been betrayed, and then the Big Mom Pirates will start to fight the Beast Pirates, and thus weakening both sides. But it also can be used to start fighting among the Beast Pirates, since they don't know who is an enemy and who is an ally anymore. The other thing is that we already saw the setup of the Beast Pirates fighting each other, the Flying Six and the top commanders, and this will weaken them and benefit the Alliance. The Straw Hats Alliance doesn't need to do much here. By the time it is their time to do something, both Kaido and Big Mom forces have already been weakened, so much that it will be easy for the Alliance to defeat them. Now, when it comes to Kaido and Big Mom, I think Oda will use an excuse like Sea Stone or something like that, and they will not be able to use their powers, and thus will be taken down by Luffy and others. So, technically, Kaido and Big Mom will not lose, and this way everything will stay the same. When they will fall down, the subordinates that are still standing will take them and retreat from Wano, and Big Mom will go to Whole Cake Island arc, and Kaido will go to one of his other islands that are under his control. And thus Wano is free, and the arc will end. Oda will probably use the newspapers again to declare Luffy the 6th Emperor. I cannot wait to see when Luffy will become the 7th Emperor as well. One of the other suggestions was about fights. Well, if anyone is expecting to see fights like they were in Alabasta or in his lobby, don't, because you will be disappointed. I don't expect to see fights like that, where they mean something, and not just make a fight for the sake of a fight. Where you are invested emotionally, where the fight is used to tell the story, and not some generic stuff. So, in this arc I think we will get just some clashes or skirmishes, or one-panel fights as we did get so far. And that will not change, because we are not 1 or 2 chapters in, but we are 70 chapters in this arc. A good example is the clash of Luffy and Zoro against Hawkins and his guys. That's how other fights will play out, more or less. Oda had the chance to do something with Kid and Apu, since these two had a history together, but decided not to, and just handle it in a generic way. I did mention earlier that instead of using these great characters, he just comes up with other characters and nothing is being accomplished. The best example is Ulti. I saw a lot of people being hyped for this character, and with good reasons. I was not, because I knew the way she will be handled. As soon as you think she is about to get the spotlight, she got one-shotted. And by whom? By the new character. And as soon as people will think that Yamato is getting the spotlight, trust me, a new character will be introduced. Oda is very strict with his formulas. Do you know what is sad? I was looking at some fan art, and I saw page 1. He was drawing a mixture of his forms, human and zone, and he looked epic. If I would see this character for the first time, I would decide to read the story immediately, and I would have been hyped for this character. But I wasn't, because I knew what will happen. And guess what happened? Oda is using him to find missing persons. Because apparently, that's epic. This is what this story is all about, doing detective work. That's how the characters become legends in the eyes of the audience. And I am sure you guys are mind blown. And lastly, one of the other suggestions was about where do you think the story will go from Wano? Well, we might get a short arc like Zou, and after that will be either Shanks or Blackbeard. For either of those arcs, I'm hoping that they will be great, since both of those characters are not just Yonkos, but also very important to the story, and to Luffy. So I'm hoping beyond hope that Oda will stop messing around and do justice to these arcs. There are so many epic things that can be done with those two arcs. They have great potential. Now it remains to be seen what Oda will do. Will he continue to mess around or get serious? Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.